What is up, my fellow Dave Matthews Band fans? So I know most of you join this channel to get guitar tutorials and things like that, which there are more coming. I promise. Don't worry. Don't don't attack me in the comments about doing these reaction videos. But because I've been looking more at some of their newer stuff and some of the older songs that I haven't done tutorials on, and tonight, because the thing is with this channel, I want it to be more than just tutorials and things like that. I want to interact with you guys more and just have, I don't know, fun discussion about what makes this band great. And I came across this interview with GQ that Dave Matthews did. I think it was like, I don't know, a year ago. Yeah, almost a year ago. And I haven't seen this yet, but he talks about his most iconic tracks. And for me personally, when people think about Dave Matthews Band's iconic tracks, those are really some, I don't want to say least favorite because they're still great songs. But I think he breaks down like the space between every day, different things like that. And so, like I said, I don't want to take away from how good these songs are, because all their songs, in my opinion, are pretty iconic and great. But I would break down songs like The Stone, 41, the popular fan, like hardcore fan songs. So, anyways. We'll get into it. I'm not going to blab. I've been blabbering on for almost 2 minutes now. So let's get into it. I want to see what Dave Matthews has to say about his most iconic tracks. Let's get into it.
What would I hope? My musical legacy is I hope that the people that I love remember that I wasn't so much of a dick.
Does anyone really think that he's a dick? Maybe his family does. I have no idea. I feel like Dave Matthews is the most friendly, famous musician in history.
Maybe the most recognizable of our earlier tunes.
For sure.
I met a lot of the guys when I was bartending. So I met Carter, I think, probably at the bar where I was working, Miller's. Probably became friendly with Leroy there. He played there quite a bit, straight ahead jazz.
All right, so one of my favorite things is that if anybody knows anything like in detail about the Dave Matthews Band, there was an interview, I can't remember what it was on, but Leroy said that the first time he ever heard Dave Matthews, Dave Matthews played at Miller's, and he did a quick little set, and Leroy was at the bar drinking, and he just looked over and he was like, man, this guy sucks. So that just always makes me laugh. He might talk about that in a minute, but anyways.
Stuff, and I think I knew Stefan from that period too. I wrote 4 songs. And we decided we'd get together, and the idea was maybe we'd make some recordings or something, but because we only had a limited repertoire, we exploited the guys who could play jazz. There was a lot more.
And what's so funny is that limited repertoire was like, I'll Back You Up, Best of What's Around, song that Jane likes. Somebody help me out. Recently, maybe. So anyways, I mean, the limited repertoire was some of my favorite DMB songs. It's crazy.
Improvisation when you only had a few songs. So we slowly added more and more to that. And songs like Ants Marching. By the time we went into
I guess Ants Marching
the studio,
was
I guess we'd probably been playing together for about 3 years or so. And we had quite a big audience. And whether or not what we were doing was in style, there was an eagerness for us to get into the studio, but we didn't know who to go in with, because a lot of producers, at that time would be like, this is how you make a rock record, or this is how you make a pop record. But we were like, well, we already have something that's dragging all these people out.
And it's not pop and it's not rock.
We have this energy that's really different. So I think one of the reasons we chose Steve Lillywhite for those early sessions was when he spoke to us about recording us, he said, I don't want to change anything. He said, I just want to get what you do on stage. He was genuine about it, and he had this humility about the way he said that, is that he didn't know how he was going to do it, but he said he knew that it had to be possible.
Which I'm going to say it. That's why I wish I wish Steve Lillywhite did every single Dave Matthews Band album that has ever been released. No offense to Batson and everyone else that's worked with the band, but Lillywhite just got it, and it's obvious in all the albums that he's done. I mean, I will still go to my grave saying that the Lillywhite Sessions is right there with Before These Crowded Streets. Do you disagree? Do ya? Let me know.
Well, because there's microphones and there's tapes, and so what we ended up doing was, really just playing more and more and more, and it really was his idea. It was like once you had an arrangement that you were going to put down, he just said just keep playing it, and we really did until it started getting worse, and then that was sort of the one he said that would be the take. We started Ants Marching with just a straight snare hit. And he just remembers hearing this, da, da. I think it was like 20 snare hits. He was like, this.
And that's what's always so funny about, sorry for pausing. That's a weird pause. But that's, and I know that's what Dave Matthews is about to talk about, is how on Remember Two Things, it was selling so much, and they were becoming so popular. And anyone that, I'm sure most of you have listened to Remember Two Things, and the version of Ants Marching is like 20 snare hits. And yeah, he says this is insane, but it was like, it just like makes you go, okay, what's next? What's next? Something's coming. And then, I've said it before, in the age of Nirvana and Alice in Chains and grunge, and when all that was coming up, you've got this band who has this 20 snare hit EP called Remember Two Things. And even the recently EP, I guess, was out at that point, and it was just, a bunch of live tracks. At least Remember Two Things was actually studio versions of things. But the recently EP was just all live songs. Halloween was on there recently. And but Remember Two Things, you just got that snare just hitting so many times, and people are buying it. And anyways, I'll let Dave explain, but just as a fan, I've always thought that was so cool. And that's why I respect Steve Lillywhite so much, is that he was like, I'm going all in with this band. And Corin Capshaw, was the manager that kind of got them all out there, got the band out there, and was just like, these guys are the real deal. And for Steve Lillywhite to take a leap like this is pretty freaking awesome. So I'll let Dave explain. He knows a lot more about it than I do, but I'm just talking, and I'm sorry.
Saying, and he said, whatever happens next, it better be good, because this is pissing me off. Satellite headlines read, someone's secrets you see. Satellite was like a challenging lick. I like to watch, like,
challenging to say the least,
and how he played, but he has got this crazy way of playing. It's like this thing, his hands are all spread out, and he gets all this coverage, which is unnecessary if your guitar's tuned to, like traditionally. It made me like just mess around with that feeling of being spread out. And then also, another friend of mine had said, why do rock bands always do everything in A and E and C? Why don't they ever do anything like in A flat or E flat? And I was like, well, because all the chords are down there, And so that made me think, well, if I'm doing this weird spread out thing, I can find a pattern that works, that looks kind of like Robert Fripp, but is unnecessary. And
thank you, Robert Fripp, for making our lives so difficult to learn how to play songs on the guitar.
So the way I first learned to play it and sing at the same time, it was sort of like an exercise. I would just play it over and over again, and I would try and talk while I was doing it, and I would make up silly lyrics to it. It taught me that you can separate my voice from my guitar. Like one could be the marching orders, and the other one could be singing and dancing, flying around those structure.
So anyone that doesn't know, look up After Her. You can find it on YouTube. It was the original Satellite, and it's different lyrics. So I know a lot of you experienced Dave Matthews Band fans know what After Her is. But that was the original Satellite, and that's how those were the lyrics that he had for Satellite in the early days. And it's cool. It's good. I can't remember. I've seen videos about him explaining why he went with Satellite. I mean, obviously, I think he just thought it was better lyrics, but just like he's saying right there, it's like, man, there's no one better at singing, talking, whatever, over these intricate riffs and runs, and I guess they're not really runs, but just love. I'm sorry, I keep pausing and talking, but it's cool to listen to him explain all this. It sucks. I've never seen this video before, but
A little bit more.
That song is rumored to be about your father who passed away when you were young. Is there any truth to that?
Maybe I don't always know why I start something, and usually, really, if I'm right, lyrics are not easy. Some people are really good at it, but the songs.
Oh, you're not good at writing lyrics?
Are the ones that come quickly. Then they don't have time to get dragged through the gravel or through the dirt, and then I don't think too clinically about them. But I imagine that a therapist might look at Satellite and say that's about death, or about loss, or about accepting that it is loss. And so then if you looked at my life, you'd say, well, his dad died. But then, but my dog died too, so it could be about my dog.
All right. So, okay, I'm going to get all in like deep here. But that's the thing about Dave Matthews. The great thing about his lyrics is that they're so arbitrary, I guess is the word, that you can make it about anything. And that's what I've always told people that aren't huge Dave Matthews Band fans, is I'm like, you can take any song that you want and make it about whatever you want. And that's why I love those. Is arbitrary the right word? I don't know. I'm not that smart, but I think arbitrary is the right word, to where you can say, yeah, Satellite's about the death of someone. Two Step is about the death of this or that, or like, there's just, and that's what I love about their early stuff, is that I feel like it's anyone's guess as to what that was about. And that's where their later stuff, from Everyday to Stand Up and on, excluding maybe Big Whiskey, I feel like so much of their later stuff became less arbitrary and more direct. And that's where I think a lot of the Dave Matthews Band fans pulled back a little bit and got away from them, is that the lyrics became so direct and less arbitrary. And I enjoy the lyrics that are things that I can just adapt whatever is going on in my life. I can kind of adapt those lyrics to what's going on in my life. And that's where I think, they might have lost some people later on. I'll stop blabbering, but do you agree? Tell me. Crash into. I've never heard this song before. Would Crash Into Me? I don't know.
Crash is odd because it was a love song, and I've dribbled on about what it was about, but it was very much at the beginning of the partnership I'm still in, and that's where it came from. There's always a funny regret that I have, because there's this throwaway line that while we were recording, that I jokingly at the end of the song about the skirt, that I threw in there in one take as a joke.
I never knew that. Because everybody always thinks this song is about like a voyeur stalker.
For me, it was always a little bit lighter, but it made the whole thing more about sex than maybe I wanted to admit it was. But then if I look at the song, for me, it's a pretty sexy song. It's hard for me to sing it now that I'm in the second half. It's like that's what I like to call it, of my time. This is a song of a 26-year-old, a 25-year-old. Now I'm a 56-year-old. So then changes what you want to sing about. I mean, I still want to sing about it, but I'm like, easy, pal. Rein it in. I throw my back out too often to sing that song. Who's got the claws in you,
seeing that is a lie, because no matter how many times Dave Matthews has been on stage singing the song, it doesn't have anything to do with other than the fact that it hurts the shit out of your hands. I know. I've tried to play that damn song all the way through and it hurts. I have to like take my thumb off the back of the neck and just press as hard as I can just to give my palm a rest. I know what you're doing there, Dave. Come on, man.
I was really grateful because that made me look at it a little differently. The term autonomy of art, I always liked that idea that once you finish something, if you put it in the world, it's no longer yours, and what you intended doesn't matter anymore. And I like that idea because then it also takes some of the responsibility off of me. But could mean a mountain to somebody else, and I might have just intended a molehill.
See, and that's exact. And sorry, I know this is going to be a long video, and it might bore the shit out of some of you, but that's what I'm saying. It's like once he lets these songs go, it's up to all of us to interpret what it means and what it's all about. And that's what I loved about all those early songs. It's like it seemed like there was just a little bit more freedom to interpret what those songs were about in the early days. But I'm not taking away from trying not to take away from anything they've done since. Oh, I'm so glad they're making this an iconic track. I thought they were just going to do like all the popular songs.
I have no idea what number it was. It could have been 41, and that's a nice way to think about it. But I also think that I had no idea what the fuck I was talking about. Because I've had people talk to me about that song and how much it means to them, and I'm like, well, maybe you can sit down and explain it all to me. There's some good lines in that, and it's definitely got some stuff to it. And I like playing that song, but also because I don't know what the hell whoever wrote it is talking about. So I can't talk to you about the lyrics too much. It's, there's some loneliness in there. There's some loss, some where have all the good times gone kind of feel to it, a little bit of that too. But I don't know.
Okay, I'm no psychologist, but you can tell by his body language. See, like right there, it's like, shut the fuck, you fucking know what it's about. What was it, Ross Hoffman, like kind of fucked him over. If you can look up the story. I'm really giving you people my knowledge of how much I've researched this band and songs and stuff. It's almost embarrassing. But it was like, was it Ross Hoffman? He fucked the band over, and I can't remember the exact details of it, but there's a lot to that song, and you can tell right there where I paused that Dave's like, I don't want to talk about it because it's in the past, but him saying he doesn't know what it's about is bullshit. But that's also him allowing us to interpret that song how we want to interpret that song and make that song mean what it wants, what we want it to mean to us. Just more of the genius of David Matthews.
Seems pretty obtuse to me. What is it about? A goat or World War III? I don't know which one, but it's clearly about one of the two.
Whatever. Oh, hell yeah.
Well, friends of mine, people close to me say, what do you think the best song you ever wrote is? And that's the first one every time. I have nothing to apologize for that. It's like I was as clear as I could be. Why am I mad at the history of
it is pretty straightforward.
The thing I'm maddest about is all of the knowledge and all of the culture and all of the perspective that we erased for greed, but for all generations to come, to steal the future away from our children. The idea of conquering people is deeply misguided, arrogant, and stupid. I realized that the best way for me to say that was to be the villain. And that's the part that I like so much about that song, is like being the hunter, Where are the skulls I've got to crush? Because this is all mine. And then, of course, the reflection is sort of looking back. The don't drink the water part is turning around and facing what you've done. But we still do it. That's what we do.
I have no time to justify to you, fool, you're blind. Move aside from me.
I think what's interesting in America is, in the U.S., and we've told this oversimplified story, that the racism of America primarily existed in the South. But the truth is, when you look at our history,
Okay, before I always the politics of I hate politics. I think we all despise politics, and I understand what "Don't Drink the Water" is about and all of that, and I understand it. But I want to talk. I want to talk about the song, the music, everything about "Don't Drink the Water" is so good. And there's a video I might do a reaction video to on YouTube where they said like they almost just scrapped the song. Like it was a bitch of a song and it wasn't going well and they couldn't figure out what direction they wanted to go. They, there was just so much within the song where they were just like hating each other during the sessions of before these crowded streets, excuse me. But man, I'm so glad that they put 41, that they talked about 41 and Don't Drink the Water in here, because man, I love Don't Drink the Water live. I love it on the album and just everything about it without bringing politics into it. Because I know it could be a polarizing song, which it's becoming, here, and I get it. I don't want to talk. The last thing I want to talk about is fucking politics on this channel. I want to talk about our love of music and the Dave Matthews Band. So, since he's talking about all this, I just want to just acknowledge how great that song is, whether it's live or in the studio or acoustic. I mean, just. If you watch VH1 Storytellers from like 1999, where they did Bartender into Don't Drink the Water, I'm going to have to watch that one on this channel too sometime. Okay, I'm going to stop talking. Let's go.
racism was everywhere. Here in Seattle, no one that wasn't white could live in this neighborhood 60 years ago, less than that probably. And of course it was enormously central to the South. But then when I talk to people in Virginia or Louisiana and you talk to people about race and race issues, you might find the most overtly secessionist or whatever, but you also find, in my opinion, the most aggressively progressive people in the country. Down there is the front line, so that's where you find the people that have changed the country, because that's so much of where it happened. Of course it happened everywhere, but it really happened there. A lot of the hopes that we have for resolving the problems in this country will be found in the Southeast, I still think.
The space between the tears we cry.
I loved the process of making that record. It was different for all of us as well. And I think the resulting record was good. a lot of people said it doesn't sound like you, like your other records. But then again, that doesn't bother me, because it's not the same bit of music. Then once we started playing a lot of those songs live, I remember talking to Glenn about it, because he came to a show, and after hearing how we played the songs, after we've been playing them for a year, him saying, man, I wish we could go back in and make that record again. Something changes, when something sort of gets sewn.
That's interesting. All right, let's all just take a minute to talk about that. I mean, Glenn Ballard, probably the most disliked producer of any, even above like Batson, because Batson did some cool stuff. But going from scrapping the Lily White sessions, which is so good, even without it being like post-production, I mean, Lily White was just totally bare bones, like, let's just fucking do this. And even Dave says that, that was not the finished product, and it's obvious. I mean, good Lord, you can hear them talking in the background on Lily White sessions and stuff. But then the fact that Glenn Ballard actually hears it live and says he would like to go do it again kind of tells you a little bit. to all and every day is not. I don't want to. I'm not bashing every day. Every day is not a terrible album. There are definitely some bright spots in there, but I think everybody kind of talked about it as a sellout album. Whatever everybody wants to talk about is fine. There are some bright spots in that album. But the fact that Glenn Ballard himself says, I wish we could go do it again with what y'all do live. Well, what they do live is what the band was, which kind of tells me a little bit that Glenn Ballard said, here's what I want this to be. Y'all just listen to me. Oh, probably going to piss some people off. I don't know, but that's just what I got from that. If you think anything different, let me know.
Going into your being a little bit, I think it's an incredibly beautiful record, and I like that it sounds different, and it deserves to sound different.
Sure. Perfect timing for Every Day in 2001. If you were alive.
That song is unintentionally had a really beautiful resonance when it first, after 9/11, that was a different thing.
Yeah.
People were looking at that in a different way.
I can read his mind.
I remember going into New York like a week after 9/11. I remember a plane flew over the city where we were all standing outside smoking cigarettes. Everyone stopped. It's like all the truckers and everyone was just standing and looking.
I remember that feeling.
Knowing it was the first planes that had flown over the city. It was such a creepy.
Any of you old people like me remember that when it was just like crazy to see shit like that? Anyways, sorry. He's exactly right. And that's what I was saying is like when Every Day came out, and that's what Every Day has always kind of had that soft spot, I think, for people that are my age, 30s, 40s, where you remember where you were. And I remember, when Every Day came out. And I think When the World Ends was supposed to be the single after I Did It. And it ended up being Every Day, which was a great decision because When the World Ends was probably not the best song to release at that point. But anyways, I'll let him talk.
Weird, desperate, sad time. I will say that on that record that there was a song we still play out. I love that song called "When the World Ends." When the World Ends was supposed to be
I've not seen this video,
single, but they wouldn't let it. It described sort of this crumbling city, and then it was sort of banned from the radio, which was funny because if I was going to have a song banned, it's funny.
I'm a damn genius,
but I don't mind.
Or just too obsessed with the Dave Matthews Band that I know I know way too much shit.
That song seems uplifting, but it's just, the noise of the traffic. It's noisy and boisterous, but it's about somebody who lives, who's alone. That's even more so now when you look at how lonely people are when we're all so connected. And it's kind of fun to look in a traffic jam, to look at all these different cars or all these different windows where novels of stories are happening in every single one of those, or in every house, and that happens 8 billion times over. But it's incredible how isolated we are when there's so many of us here. And so that song's just about, even when people are trying to sort of reach into us and help us out, that the true loneliness that we all exist in is inescapable if we obsess on ourselves.
Oh, okay, hold on. What a fucking great explanation of Gray Street, because we all know that Halloween was written about the girl that he wanted to marry, and then he met his current wife Ashley, and Gray Street, or I can't correct me if I'm wrong, but Gray was the last name of the girl that he wanted to marry, and he had proposed to her many times, and that's what Gray Street was all about. But what's so smart about Dave Matthews is that in this interview about all these great songs, he's breaking it down as if we can, like what I was talking about earlier in these earlier tracks, how we can all all interpret these songs individually as ourselves. And that's what's so damn smart about this guy, is because, again, my Dave Matthews Band nerdiness has put me so deep into my knowledge of what these songs are about. Gray Street is kind of a sequel to Halloween. You can all look into it. I'm not going to go into it now because this video's already gone on long enough. But man, what a great, that explanation right there makes me appreciate Gray Street even more than I already do. And I love Gray Street, especially the Lily White version. I know I just get all excited about the Lily White sessions, but I think the recording of the Lily White sessions was so much better than Busted Stuff. Just the sound of it, I get all distracted and I keep blabbering on. So we're going to Madman's Eyes, but that if go back to that explanation of Gray Street from him, and man. That's what every person should take away from what Gray Street is about. Bad lyrics. Bad lyrics.
Not
good
about
song.
my political views on guns, because it's not really political. It's just, are you insane or are you not insane? I have a lot of friends who have guns and love their guns. I don't have a gun. I never had a gun. I had a pellet gun, I think, or BB gun. But that song is just about my
The subtitles said Pelican, and it was pellet gun.
This bizarre idea that keeps coming up is like, let's not make it political just because another 10 people got mowed down. Let's not make it. It's like, I don't give a fuck about the politics. I don't give a fuck. I'm just saying, I don't want people to get shot for going to school, or for going to the office, or for going to university, or for going to the mall. And so the song is simply that. It's like, I'm just afraid. I'm afraid. I'm not trying to choose sides here. But it seems like if we make those issues like guns, political issues, that's a really good way to not deal with real issues.
Someday we're all gonna leave.
I will never talk about politics on this channel. If that's what
I think something to tell my baby.
That's great. No, I'll leave it at that. Don't talk about. Please don't.
Came quick.
No one get into politics on this channel, please. Comments, anything. I will never get into politics. Make it about the music. That's all I gotta say about that.
Fast song. Boom. This is what
I'm not super familiar with this song, by the way.
What it is clear about death and about family. What would I hope? My musical legacy is, things come and go quickly nowadays, So I hope it casts a pretty shadow.
They ended that
but
fast.
I don't know how long it'll last, I hope that the people that I love remember that I wasn't so much of a dick, for the most part.
That just like I didn't expect that to end that fast. Like something to tell my baby, and it's like, oh yeah, it's this, that, and then just okay. All right, so that video went way longer than I thought it was going to, but I thought there was so much good stuff in there. Like I told you guys multiple times, I've not seen that video before. It came up on my feed tonight, and I was like, oh, I need to put this up on my channel, and figured you guys would have multiple opinions on it, I guess. I didn't want to watch it because I wanted to be surprised about what the iconic tracks actually were, and what he said about them, and how he described them is, what I assumed he was going to do on that video. But man, that was good. And really interesting. And I think my biggest takeaway from it, without going on for too long, is the fact that what draws us all to the Dave Matthews Band is, okay, I'll say this, for me personally, and I think most of you will agree, is outside of like the intricate guitar riffs and Dave's ability to write deep poetic lyrics over very intricate stretches and picking like the Stone and Warehouse and Trippin' Billies, and I mean even songs like like I said like I said earlier, I'm so glad they brought 41 into it, because that's a fan favorite. That's not like it is an iconic track to us, but someone who's a passerby of the Dave Matthews Band would say, Ants Marching, Crash, Satellite, what would you say? So Much to Say, and Every Day. It would be those people. And so the fact they brought 41 and Don't Drink the Water into the mix made me really excited. And beyond that, last thing I'll say that I made it pretty obvious in watching the video is I love the fact that he keeps everything, what do you say, close to the cuff, like just very kind of mysterious, like, well, I'm not going to tell you exactly what this is about, because that is what makes the Dave Matthews Band great, is their best songs and lyrics and everything are left for us to interpret. And when they get more direct about what a song is about, I think it draws people more away from the song a little bit, which is why all their earlier stuff is so popular and is so good and deep. It just makes fans like you and I, so into this band, 'cause it's like, oh, what is this about? Well, it means this to me, and it doesn't matter what it means to Dave Matthews or Carter or Boyd or Stefan or Leroy, Tim, whatever. It doesn't matter. So, anyways, sorry for this video going so long. For anyone that has stayed around till the end, I really appreciate you. And yeah, spread the word about the Dave Matthews Band, because I feel like they're kind of on the downside of their career, and there's so many terrible bands out there nowadays, and there's so much bad music that I feel like our younger generation, me sounding like an old fart, I just share this stuff with people, and share the great music of Dave Matthews Band. Until next time, I will get a tutorial out soon, and until next time, thanks for watching. Take it easy.